Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cup Duet Reviews. My name is Jillian Robinson. I am the associate producer here at Cup of Hemlock Theatre, and today I'm joined by the incredible Ryan Borochovitz, one of our co-artistic producers. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great today, Jill. How are you?
I'm doing swell. Thank you so much for asking.
No problem.
And today, Ryan and I are going to be chatting about the Howland Company in association with Crows Theatre's production of Prodigal, which is a world premiere happening at Crows right now, running until March 12th, 2023. And it is written and directed by Paolo Santalucia. So super excited to dive in. But before we go any further, we must do our usual icebreaker. Ryan, what's in your cup?
I have in my The Cup. Hey,
Nice.
The Cup. That's the show you're watching right now. Look at that. There's our logo. I have water because we are recording this in the wee hours of the night after just coming back from opening night and the opening night reception where we stayed for a little bit of time. And I don't need any caffeine right now because we're recording this and then we are going to bed. How about you? What are you drinking?
Well, fancy that. I am also
Hey.
drinking out of a cup, logo. And it is also water for the exact same reasons that Ryan has stated.
Wonderful.
Yes, we did stay for the reception post opening night, and I did have a couple mocktails there called the Only Child, which was super tasty. It was like a lemonade mango vibe. So if you go to see the show,
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Support the bartending staff.
Yes,
Tip well.
exactly. So I guess let's do our usual, Ryan. I'm going to volley to you if you want to let our listeners, viewers kind of know about the show. What did we see today?
Yeah, like this, it's interesting. So I kind of don't want to spoil a lot, and we will put up our spoiler shield. But like the show, very much, it didn't offer a lot in the promotional materials in terms of telling people what this is about, and I think that's probably for the best. People probably will want to go in with as little spoiled as possible, but very short version, as the biblical title suggests. This is somewhat of a contemporary retelling of the parable of the prodigal son. And it's funny, one of the last shows that you and I reviewed together was called Martyr. So this is a real one-word biblical allusion title streak we have going on here. So the Prodigal is about the Clark family. The son in question, his name is Edmund Clark, and no relation to the Edmund Clark who co-founded Cup of Hemlock Theatre. Hi, Ed. But no, he has been away from his family for 5 years. They are an incredibly wealthy family with lots of money and political power and influence. The father, Rowan Clark, has just been nominated to be Governor General of Canada, so that's kind of the general vibe of wealth and status we're dealing with here. But 5 years ago, the son, Edmund Clark, has left the family after some large altercation of which we only get sporadic details, and he is queer and an alcoholic and just in general seen as a bit of a bad seed outcast of the family. Black sheep, if you will. And so his brother is getting married, and they're kind of, at least at the beginning of the show, gathering for an engagement celebration party. And that's when Edmund returns after we've heard quite a bit about him prior to his arrival. And that might be where I want to leave it before we get into our spoiler zone, because it's all about the family drama and shenanigans and heart-wrenching gut punches, if you will, that spin out from his return. And I will say no more in terms of plot. Before we do put up the spoiler shield, is there anything you want to add? Any general appraisals for people who think that might sound cool, but is it any good before they leave when we put the spoiler shield up?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to plug See the Show. See the show. If there were, any pieces of theater that are going on right now, I mean, there's a lot.
There is a lot.
And there's a lot coming up that Ryan and I are going to tune into too. But see this show. Again, no spoilers, but just absolutely brilliant work done on the stage, and we'll get into it beyond spoiler shield. Really loved the piece, loved the ambiance of Crows. I mean, I always love the ambiance of Crows theater as well. It's always kind of a good time.
Nobody does a haze effect quite like Crows.
Yeah, exactly.
Their shows are so hazy.
Right. But yeah, like if my parents were to come into town and be like, hey, we're in town and want to hang out with you, but we also want to catch some theater, I would say go see Prodigal at Crows. Um, that's, I think, where I want to leave it before we enter spoiler territory.
I would second that. I think it's a great show, very well written, very well acted. We will talk more about all of that post spoiler shield, but yeah, it's a great time. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. These are the very cliche review type things to say about a show that accomplishes both of those things, but I think you will be very satisfied with the way that this show does accomplish both of those things. So check it out. Yeah, it'll also make you think. That's the third thing.
Yes. And it's a world premiere, and that's always fun to kind of be front row, if you will, to something that is new and fresh. And
get in on the ground floor because it will likely premiere in many other cities and locations around the world at some point. So say you were there for the very first production.
Agreed.
So you could brag about that later on in life, if that's the kind of thing you're inclined to brag about.
Right. Okay. So at this time, I think we have baked the spoiler cake, and it is now showing up on the screen. So we are now in the spoiler kitchen, I will say, because this whole piece takes place in the Clark's kitchen. I would say yes, right? Unless there might have been the moment with Livy and Simone. Do you think that was?
Yeah, it's unclear where that's seen. Yeah. And also we have our preacher framing device at the beginning of the two acts, also played by Shauna Thompson, who plays Simone. Yeah. And so, for the most part, we have a single setting. There's no scene changes where they move the scenery. And it's funny because we have this very kind of static kitchen set. Like there's the one door that we find out early on is the refrigerator, but
so cool.
And it's really well done. But it kind of gave me a lot of vibes of the show entrances and exits that Howland Company has done quite a few times now, and most recently did at Tarragon at Christmas time, or as their big holiday season. And because we had so much time in this location where there's clearly things going on the other side of the wall, but we're only seeing characters as they enter and exit the kitchen, I could have sworn that there was a moment where I'm like, is this secretly entrances and exits? Is Act 2 going to be the same thing again, but now from the perspective of the other side of the wall? I didn't think they were going to do that in earnest, but it very much emanated the same vibes with the single location we were given.
Sorry, this is just while we're in the fridge, no pun intended. Dramaturgically, I loved what was inside that fridge. You only saw a glimpse of it, but like there was the Fiji water bottles, there was LaCroix, and then like nothing, orange juice or whatever, but nothing, no food. And I'm like, that is so like a rich person's fridge where they're ordering out or, having cater in every.
We see their caterers.
Yeah, every
second.
Some of
the first characters we meet. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just really good. It was attention to detail there that I think was very well executed. Yeah, so I guess where do we want to?
Well, I think you want to talk about the cast. It might be a good place to start. Yeah. You want to take us off there?
Dan Musso.
Dan freaking Musso.
Dan, if you're watching this, I know we reintroduced ourselves today, but what a brilliant human. I'm going to say it now, one of the best actors donning our Toronto stages right now. There is just such a naturalistic, yet quirkily unique charisma that I've seen Dan in several shows now that I'm now fully believing that's just Dan bringing stuff to his roles. But in a piece like this, where he's playing, as Brian was saying, Edmund Clark, who is the outcast child, alcoholic, queer, the pendulum that he swung this character on was just wild. I kept saying tonight, to the amount of times where I was crying yet laughing in the same line that Dan would say sometimes. Just such a texture and depth that was brought to this character. And he's someone that, observing his choices as the actor, it's rooted in empathy, man. He just oozes empathy and is I would love to freaking act opposite to Dan Musso, because you can tell he is a phenomenal scene partner and just lifts everyone up around him, and like can be seen as like potentially like a scene stealing actor, like, but not at all. Like it's such a weird way of saying that, I guess. Like he has such a big energy that like you would think could have the potential of sucking a scene up, but it's the exact reverse. Like it just like fuels what's going on stage alongside everyone else. Like I just honestly, like I could go on and on about how incredible this actor is. And I will also say everybody in this piece, like, sorry, I'm also just like Dan Musso, but like, and I know you and I've chatted about this of Howland does a very good job of just infusing super strong ensemble casts and doing ensemble works that everyone is highlighted. And there was not a weak link in this cast. Like everyone was freaking fire and very well casted, in my opinion, as well. Like, yeah, you take the reins. I feel like again, I can just go on.
Yeah, like obviously Dan's performance is amazing. Like, you know, as much as this is an ensemble piece and everybody is bringing their A game, we'll talk more about the other actors in a second. And that, you know, like you just alluded to, ensemble shows, that's very much Howland's brand. All of their shows are these kinds of pieces where there is no one obvious protagonist. It's a lot of people just sharing their stories and typically getting equal stage time as each other. You know, shows like, you know, The Wolves and Three Sisters, Casimir and Caroline, Punk Rock. It's very much, this is the kind of work they do. And they've been doing it for a long time, and they clearly excel at showcasing all their actors at their best. And, you know, it's funny because Dan's character, Edmund, very much feels like the centerpiece, but it takes a long time for him to show up. And, you know, we've heard so much about him. And then when he comes in, he does not disappoint. And, you know, it very quickly feels like it's becoming a star vehicle for him, even if he's still there to just support all of his other co-stars. And it's really, you know, it is his story, but he's a piece in everyone else's story too. And like you said, he's a very generous scene partner in that way, that even though he seems like the kind of character who would make it all about him, and everybody seems to, you know, their problems all emanate from him, or they make the story about him. He's just being himself. He's not actually trying to steal anything. And and he is a vehicle through which they all, you know, get to tell their stories, or we get to see sides of them just through how they interact with him or his presence returning into their lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, excellent performance, and really scene stealing.
Yeah. I think this is a really good segue to unpacking other actors. Ryan, you were saying before the spoiler shield went up of the family drama that sort of ensues in this piece. And yes, there's a lot of verbal matches that go on a lot of the times, like parent to child. So basically, there's three kids. Henry, Violet, and Edmund are the three children of Mr. and Mrs. Clark, the parents. And
Rowan and Marilyn Clark.
There you go. But also there's disputes that happen within the siblings as well. But that's a lot of the piece, like Ryan was saying too, of how Edmund is affecting everyone's lives. It kind of big fight matches kind of bubble to the surface of certain, you know, whether it's talk of money, whether it's secrets or skeletons in the closets that are brought to the forefront, or whether it's just like doing sibling things where you're making fun of a sibling's weight or something like petty, like all of these sort of real, like under the surface family conversations that happen in regular people's lives. I think the whole ensemble did a really good job of staying true to the text and also paying homage to how real that is in a family like this, where privilege is literally served on a silver platter and all characters kind of have no idea what to do with it. And they either completely give it away or completely hoard it, but don't know why they're doing either or. And I just think each member really did an awesome job of showcasing kind of what their role in and with privilege is, and how they're kind of navigating that and navigating that with themselves and with each other. There's times where I was watching and I've spoke to some people in the after party of like, yeah, I've witnessed that type of conversation before, or I've been in a sort of fight match like that with a family member before. And so I just think, yeah, it was real. It was real and gritty and super grotesque in moments. And I've talked about this on the reviews before. I absolutely adore and pretty much only like when contemporary theater like this does that, where you're getting into it. You're getting messy with it because that's you getting human with it.
We're past the spoiler shield now, so I think it's fine if I say the emotional climax of this piece is the son realizing that his father is also human. So yes. I think having that humanity infused through the piece, even if it feels like it's behind a facade or this veneer of the manicured perfect family at the beginning, just seeing that breakdown throughout the course of this piece is what you're coming to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I guess shout outs to certain cast members before I kind of volley it back to you, Ryan. Yeah. Veronica Horta playing Sadie was just chef's kiss. No pun intended, because she does have awkward conversations with our chef, who's also freaking phenomenal. Megan Swaby. Both, I'll talk about both of them individually and then just their characters' interactions. But so going back to Veronica, she was the Instagram, like, prim and proper, has a freaking LED light on her phone, only doesn't eat solids some days. Like, we all know the Karen. We all know what we're actually thinking right now. And she just played her beautifully. And like, it's not a character who's in necessarily the thick of the family drama all the time, but when she is on stage, it's just like that extra sting or like stab into the tension that's already kind of surrounding a situation. And I just think Veronica was phenomenal in she kind of seemed like frosting on a cake, where she's just kind of showing up, doing her part. And then Megan Swaby, who played a chef, who the family has hired for the engagement announcement between Henry and Sadie. And they are looking into hiring her and her husband Quentin back for the wedding. I just think, again, from a very naturalistic approach similar to Dan, I think the way that Megan said her lines, it was as if she wasn't even reading from a script. Like, it just seemed so natural. And again, a character that's not necessarily in the thick of the family drama, but she has stuff going on as well inside and outside of that kitchen. Like, I felt like a full life story through her. Yeah, I've been talking a lot. So why don't you
I will just
pepper some actor stuff and then
I would love to completely co-sign those two cast shout-outs you just gave because they're both amazing. And something like that I think kind of builds off of what you're saying. You're right that they're not really heavily integrated into the family drama, what we could call the A plot of this piece. Mm-hmm. Yes, Sadie is very much part of it because it's her engagement that they're celebrating and she's marrying into this family, but so much of what's interesting is her conversations with Pauline and Quentin, that we kind of have this almost silver trio of a B plot going on the periphery here. And you say it much better than I do in terms of appraising the acting itself. You're the actor, shocker. But yeah, if I could just comment even on the writing that informs why I think this side plot, despite being not very integral to the main plot, is so memorable, in addition to just the brilliant performances, is it is very deeply entrenched in, I think, the themes of what it's going for, and specifically how we can interpret the biblical allusion that drives most of the plot here. And I think the big, clever dramaturgical hat tip that we can give to this is that Megan's character's name is Pauline, i.e. the Pauline epistles are written by Paul. And I think we see what's going on in this B plot as this sort of extra gospel commentary on what's going on in the main plot, this putting this idea of forgiveness and redemption as it is being driven in the main plot, taking that theme and applying it in a way that you wouldn't expect to have such interesting thematic echoes, but in this very, other context. We meet the character of Sadie and we expect, oh, she's irredeemable, we hate her, we're gonna hate her through and through, and then we realize that she has more heart than we gave her credit for, and that she isn't just this, you know, cardboard cutout version of herself that she's maybe very happy to portray out into the world, and that, you know, she doesn't seem like she deserves forgiveness, but we realize that there is something there and that she can be redeemed, and she is going to save their situation by investing in their restaurant and not leaving them to, you know, be beholden to Henry's investment. And it's just, it's simple stuff, and it like feels like it's very much peripheral. I could imagine a dramaturg looking at this script and saying, do we need these other characters? They can be cut, right? They're just kind of side plot here. You know, the cast is big enough. But no, I think the beating heart of the play is so much in what's going on between them, and really does inform everything else that we see in the main plot, and makes it almost richer because we've had this comparison.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I know that was a tangent away from shouting at the actors in particular, but you bringing them up, I felt like it belonged there. Sorry.
Of course. No, I was just going to say, like, well, we're kind of on this journey of pivoting and just shouting out wherever the conversation takes us.
That's what we
tipping
do.
my hat off to writing and direction of this piece. Like, holy crow, no pun intended. So phenomenal. Like, even just, that layer right there that Ryan just chatted about, like, there is that full B plot, which I like. This is going to be a thinker piece for me. I think as days goes on, I'm going to be like, oh, right, that happened. Or like, oh my goodness, like that character's, I'm finding something out more about this character in days to come. Just like very well written. And again, the direction was very real. Like, nothing seemed overly done. Nothing seemed like everything seemed so just fit like puzzle pieces together in a very messy, not matching up sort of like family mosaic, you know, but like exteriorly, from just seeing the piece unfold, like very well done, beautifully messy, imperfectly perfect, one might say.
Nice.
In that as well, I want to talk about the lighting and the soundscape.
We're all over the place to go wherever
we are all over the place. I love this. The soundscape, let's start there. I loved that occasionally when stuff was going deeper, either in like a character's monologue or in like themes of the piece, almost like when it kind of not required the audience attention, but sort of was like a signifier to me of like, okay, there's sound happening, overlaying, you know, this speech or this moment. It made me aware of kind of like heightened, I wonder why. And it's just like, and it was so subtle. And it was almost like, to me, I kind of perceived it as like, kind of like not church chants, but like this like ethereal kind of choir of sound, if that makes sense. Like kind of, like a religious meditative ambience happening on top of the text. And like, again, it didn't deter at all from what was happening on stage, but it like perked my ears up to like really hone in and focus in. So that, I think that was just an interesting observation of obviously it being so steeped in religion, like that. As someone who I grew up Roman Catholic, like, you know, when song happens or music happens, there is kind of like an importance for that. And then the lighting, like I kind of loved it. It was kind of like a kaleidoscope in moments, which again, I guess thinking on my feet right now of like almost like a stained glass window kind of vibe sometimes. But then you had, like, there was one lighting pattern where it was similar to like what the poster looks like, where again, it literally looks like a kaleidoscope. Like there's pink and yellows and blues. And then there were also moments like the conversation that happens with Levy and Simone, where there was like a green kind of hue. And then like there was other moments where it was very like bright yellow spotlight views. And then when it's nighttime or like a more sinister sort of color to the stage, it was blue. And I just kind of liked that there was just these like pops of color at different reasons and at different times for different reasons and for different times. And again, it wasn't like, whoa, lighting and sound are really taking over here, but just adding like a little garnish to what was happening on quite a minimalist set. And again, like a very naturalist delivery of this intense story, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, like to talk about the lighting a little more. It's funny because like yeah, there is like the moments where we do get that, heavy gelled kaleidoscopic image that was on all the promotional materials, even though it actually shows up very little, I think, in the performance itself. It's mostly preserved for scene transitions more than anything. But the element of the lighting that struck me, or well, two of them, and I cannot tell, they were so subtle if they were even there that I actually can't tell if I imagined them or not, which is always fun. But if they were there, then like, I saw you. I think Logan Cracknell did the lighting design.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see you. I see the work you do here. Because, okay, one of them in particular is it was near the top of Act 2 when Edmund first makes his entrance, and I forget the exact phrasing or what it is that he says specifically, but he's talking to Marilyn, his mother, and he just like says something nice to her or like apologizes, and you don't expect that from him just based on everything else we've seen so far. And I swear to God, I could be wrong, but I swear to God, the lighting just got a tiny bit brighter after he did that. It was almost like, he's learning forgiveness in this way, and it actually just, he says something nice, and for even just a moment, like things were just illuminated just a hair more than they were. Like, oh, that actually is, like, maybe I imagined it, in which case, good job, imagination. But like, I don't think I did. I think it actually was part of that, and that was really nice. And the other one, which is very much in a similar vein, is right at the very close to the end. Is again, all of these interesting cues seem to center around the character of Marilyn in particular, but it's when she kind of makes her last entrance shortly before her last exit, right before we get to the end of the play, and the non-disclosure agreement, the contract that Rowan made Edmund sign to, spoiler cake, remember, to not reveal to his mother that his father is having an affair, and gives him a large sum of money to stay quiet on that. The contract is sitting right there on the table, and, you as the audience, or at least speaking for myself, but I'm sure a lot of people had the same reaction watching it, your eyes dart right to that contract when she enters, because you're like, oh my God, it's sitting there on the table right in the open. I know how plays work. Of course she's gonna see it. And I think the lighting did help direct our eyes to thinking that. I think when she entered from that corner of the stage, the lighting, again, just a hair, illuminated the whole room, and specifically to take the table that was in the dark and illuminate it as well. And then, of course, again, spoiler cake, she doesn't see the contract, and it's not really about that. We understand how it's bigger than just, oh, wait, what's this? You bastard. Like, that's not where this play is going, and for the better, I think. But yeah, it's the way that the lighting, I think, is just very good at manipulating us emotionally, like in the previous moment I just discussed, or in this case, kind of guiding our eyes to think we figured out where the plot is going, only to then, make us feel better when actually the thing I thought wasn't where this is going. Oh, and actually, I just thought of a third one that I really like too, is, okay, in the heartbreaking monologue that Edmund does, kind of leaning back against the kitchen counter. He thinks he's talking to Levy, but he's kind of just like going on and on about his life, and that how everything in the light kind of blacked out, or really kind of slowly faded to black, except for the spotlight that was on him, to the point that we don't even notice that Levy is gone.
Yeah, I did, until he was gone.
Well, well, I actually did periodically glance back because I saw that the light was, and like I saw that he was not there, but I didn't know, at least until the monologue ended, is the character still standing there and we just can't see him because the light has focused in on Edmund, or is he actually gone? And of course, it's very funny that that's so Chekhov, this moment here. And like the last show, or one of the last shows that Paolo did, was Three Sisters, and that moment where the character of Andre in Three Sisters is talking to, it's one of the servant characters that's been changed to this production where it became Anfisa here, but talking to a hard of hearing old person because he's not able to talk to people who can actually hear him, so he he's just telling a life story and then find out, oh, she's gone and I've been talking to no one. We had basically the exact same moment in this, that he's telling this heart-wrenching life story to a character who he thinks is listening right there, and actually, oh no, you're gone, I've just been talking to myself. Like the critic Peter Zondi looked at that scene in Three Sisters and said that this is the crisis of modern drama, that if drama is a genre where characters are where the plot is propelled by characters having interpersonal dialogue with each other. Chekhov represents a crisis in this genre because his characters aren't talking to each other. They're actively talking past or through each other.
Yep.
And what is going on in this mainstay of a genre that's supposed to be defined by dialogue? But so I think it's very clear that Paolo's taking cues from Chekhov in his writing in this way, regardless of whether or not he wrote this script prior to working on Three Sisters. I think there's an interesting influence there. And sorry, we're getting away from lighting now, but another influence, if we're talking about shows that Paolo has recently worked on, he recently directed Tartuffe at Theatre Arundel, the UTM theater class show. And I just thought it was also pretty funny that there's a scene where somebody is hiding behind a table in this while spying on other characters having a confession of romantic desire for each other. I'm like, that's right out of Tartuffe. Interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just think it's fun identifying.
No, but these are smart, like directorial choices, like too. Like I think it's so interesting. Like I think quite often we have these duet reviews and we're like, oh, you know, like I just said, like I've seen Dan Musso in so many different things, or like I know you and I have seen Andre Sills in so many different things, but it's neat to be like, oh, we've seen like Paolo's direction in so many different things. And I think
I should probably add to this, kind of in the spirit of full disclosure. I just worked with Paolo and a lot of these actors and people involved in this production on that production of Three Sisters. I was an assistant dramaturg in that production. Fun fact, we at the Cup were actually invited to review Three Sisters, but we felt that would be a conflict of interest given my involvement in that production. Right. You don't want me sitting here in this review and be like, let me tell you about the dramaturgy. But, you know, now I had no involvement in this production despite a previous relationship with the company. So, you know, these are just our off-the-cuff thoughts. I just, putting that out there in case anybody, because I remember plugging in episodes around that time that, oh, I'm working on Three Sisters. I don't want anyone to think this is just some kind of shill review. We genuinely love the show, and these are all our authentic reactions to it.
Absolutely. No, and then just I think it's like I love that, again, just like we praise like an actor's work, like it's really neat and awesome to praise a director's work too, and like finding these commonalities and like images that work. And again, because like that's humans do that. Can I go back to this, you know, you're you think you're talking to someone else, but you're just talking to yourself, or like the truths that you really want to be saying. Of course, no one hears them. Or like specifically with this family, like, and again, I think this is, I guess, a sad way of saying and agreeing how real this is, how surface layer all of these family members are with each other. They don't genuinely know what they want or who they want. They just know that they have a lot of money. And they're all very different for different reasons. They all kind of stay in their own lanes. And if there's ever crossover, there's a blowout, there's an accident, there's an altercation, there's a confrontation. Like, it's so human. Like, again, that's a little bit of a side tangent, but just
this show's kind all about the humanity, I think.
And I
to bring it up.
Think there are, and these sort of like aesthetic visuals, right, of like a character on their own speaking their truth on their own and not allowing someone else to be privy to that sort of inner truth. Or when a character's inner truth does come out, someone's hiding in the shadows and hears it as like a scandalous secret, right? It's this lovely little images of how we operate as the oddball animal that we are as humans.
Yeah.
Where do we want to go from here? Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm just kind of like, again, we're recording this so early in the morning. I am getting a tiny bit sleepy.
There's more that we could say about it, but honestly, you know, just go see the show for yourself if you haven't already. Make thoughts of your own. Come back, tell us in the comment section what you thought, and we could keep these discussions going on till the cows come home, or till the prodigal son comes home, and we decide whether or not we want to bestow riches upon him. Right. But I personally feel like we've covered a lot of this piece. We could leave it at that if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot.
The rest of the cast was also really good. We didn't shout them out individually.
Yes, we didn't like.
There's not a weak link in this slot.
I'm going to take a second and we're going to say apologies if I'm mispronouncing anyone's name. Please pop in the comments if I do so. Michael Aries, Cameron Laurie, Nancy Polk, Rick Roberts, Hallie Celine, Shauna Thompson, and Jeff Young. Your work
All of
was
you are
also
great.
incredible alongside the actors we've already mentioned. Very, very solid cast. The chemistry was palpable with everybody. Yeah, just a really rockin' awesome piece.
Yeah.
See this? Oh,
Yeah,
you
it is
will
really
be
good.
very, very, very disappointed if you don't.
Mhm.
So again, it is running at Crow's Streetcar location, and it's running now until March 12th, 2023. Again, it's the world premiere, written and directed by Paolo Santalucia, and it is sort of an association production with Howland Company and Crow's Theatre.
Mhm.
Prodigal.
Yeah. Check it
Get
out
your tickets.
before it sells out, because it probably will.
It probably will. Like tonight was
I hope it
electrifying.
does.
Also, this
Yeah.
audience, before we fully sign up, this being in this audience was so electric.
Yeah.
And hearing even the cast, like I love hearing that too, as like an actor, hearing the cast being like, this audience was so great. Like, what an amazing opening night audience. Like, there's nothing better than hearing audiences' reactions as the piece goes on, and then there was an instant standing ovation, and me included, people were like hooting and hollering.
Yeah.
It's like I'm so excited for them, like
Yeah.
that's like the best like opening night formula you could be given. So it was really cool to be like in that audience. And because you've said this earlier, Ryan, it was like this show makes you like think and rethink things too. And I could feel the audience was like on a journey with the characters, and like aha moments were made, or like hems and haws, or people were just like either relating or like relating or not relating to stuff on stage, but like definitely thinking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It will make you think, it will make you laugh, it will make you cry, it will do all of that at once in a very not cliched way.
Not cliched way, very human
Yes.
way. So yes, so I spilled all the details. We'll pop that all down below like usual. So in the same vein, go ahead and subscribe to Cup of Hemlock Theatre. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and do that there. If you're listening to us on any podcast platform, go ahead and give us some stars, pop some comments in there. Follow us on our social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We are there, and we would love to have you there too. Do you want to plug anything that I just kind of did for you?
Yeah, that's okay. You did it better than I do. No, I don't bother trying to follow me personally on social media. I'm not active even a little bit there. But yes, follow the Cup. If you like me, that is where my opinions tend to live. How about you, Jill? Where can people find and follow you?
Yes, people can find and follow me at my artist Instagram account, which is Jillian.Robinson96. I have some fun projects kind of on the go and into the springtime. So keep your eyes peeled about promo materials for that. We're recording this again, as Ryan was saying, late at night. And this weekend I'm on set for a short film. So that's super neat. So yeah, good. I'm very happy and grateful. There's cool projects coming down the line, and being in community with artists like tonight is just like another awesome boost of energy. And we're doing the thing. Live theater is back. I don't know, it's been back, but like it really does feel like companies are pumping out a season again. And touch wood, actors aren't getting as sick, but even if they are, there's understudies, there's swings. I always say this, we love our understudies, we love our swings. Audiences are totally down for, hey, if like people are sick, cool, I'll just rebook my ticket. It just feels like we're back, baby. 2023 is
the new normal. We're not still waiting to see what that new normal will look like.
Yeah. And again, you could just see in this post reception too, everybody is so hungry for community,
for pizza and donuts.
Pizza and donuts, and just, community and chatting and lifting up everybody's works. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal to be in that environment, doing what we do here at the Cup, and also as like an artist in the Toronto scene. It's lovely.
Yeah, spread that theater enthusiasm.
Spread the theater enthusiasm. So a big old cheers to you, Ryan, and to anyone watching or listening. Stay healthy and stay safe and stay warm. Still really chilly out there, so stay warm. And we will see you next time on the Cup.